All right, testing, testing. One, two, three. Hey guys, Dante here, and welcome back to my channel, The Burgos Art, and welcome back to a long overdue Sunday night art stream. Just checking on my audio right now. We are broadcasting very well over to Twitch. Let me make sure the YouTube channel is also getting it, because once again, our YouTube channel is essentially our archive channel. Everything's saved from the Twitch stream over on YouTube in the end. So we'll double check that, see if that's going live as well. It looks like it is. All right, we seem good. So, as mentioned, it is a long overdue. Oh, what's going on here? Come on now. There we go. As mentioned, we are long overdue for an art stream. I have been quite busy with personal things lately. I'm still always doing art. Always, check out my Instagram, check out my blue sky. I have to update the little image down there. That blue bird no longer exists. Well, it does exist, but I'm also active on Blue Sky. So check me out there for like works in progress. So I haven't had a chance to do streaming, but I have been doing artwork. Let's go down a quick short list of updates. Update number 1, I'll be at Brooklyn Comic-Con next weekend. Where else? Brooklyn, New York. It is a one-day convention this year. I guess they had issues booking a good space for more than one day. It is a one-day convention, but it's always a very nice convention. I'm really happy to be there. I'll be showcasing my soft foam propped throwing daggers. I have some that are soft like this completely, and some that have a rigid handle, so they don't bend as much in the hand. Great for cosplay. So I have a handful of these, along with some more Nintendo-oriented magnets, little magnets that look like Nintendo cartridges that look like if they were candy. And then the stuff I've had for the past few years. And yes, I'll be doing that. The only conventions I have really lined up are the Brooklyn Comic-Con. And then in August, I'll be at Retro Game in Long Island Retro Gaming. And that's that for now. As always, I am trying to promote things that I don't sell necessarily at the conventions. Check out my page over at thegamecrafter.com. I want to push my card games. If you're not familiar with my card games, I make little card games, mostly family-friendly card games. And I have a few of those for sale at thegamecrafter.com. Once again, just look for The Burgos Art. Today we're going to return to a project I've been kind of just putting off to the side for a while. It's not really high on the list of things I need to get done, but it is something I don't want to forget about, and that is the pack. So what is the pack? A reminder for those who haven't been here for quite some time. The pack is a bunch of toy concepts I came up with of, transforming human characters, which are always hard to do. Transforming humans are hard to do. You could do a robot that becomes a tank and he looks fine, but how do you make a human become a monster? The real trick of it is that all of these human characters have a backpack or a box or luggage, something extra like a mask that's attached to them to give me space for a transformation. I made a whole bunch of them a while back out of used wrestling figurines, and now I want to streamline them and make them completely original, roughly 5 inches tall, simplified concepts in the vein of like the old Ghostbuster figurines that would become monsters. And I'm returning to this guy right here. So where do we stand? I found a nice, so I think it was a Batman figurine. I went ahead, made a quick mold of him so I could make a bunch of these really cheap 5-inch tall figurines and use him as a base. I have all the mechanics which were planned out. I have Hey Pretorius Rex. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. I made all the mechanical details in SketchUp and 3D printed them. That's these little pieces here. to make sure all of the parts fold perfectly and transform perfectly. And now we have to sculpt around them. So what we're going to do some sculpting. I left off with what will eventually be the face of the monster, which attaches to the guy's chest. The guy is carrying a box in front of him, and then when he opens the box, he has monster hands, and this face would then rotate up here and cover his actual face. So we are trying a few things right now. And I could do this a lot easier now that I bought this nice kind of modeling kit, really thin drills to help me fix the holes in these. This black one here kind of shows you how it all works. There's a divot here sticking up, and a divot, and there's a peg sticking up and a divot here. So if you close them, that interlocks. Same thing on this side, but part of it broke, so I'm just gonna physically jam it together so you can see what this does. You have these joints here and here, these hinges, which will go on the arms, on the shoulders. Two pieces come together like that. Kind of out of scene, so I'm out of camera here. This triangular face, which is going to be the beak, sits there. Let me just do it this way. This triangular piece sits in here. I need to get more light on this. There we go. Is that better? So that's our box, right? That's the whole box. And the whole thing sits right here in front of him. And he's holding it. He's carrying like a cargo box. So when this opens up outward, this flips. This whole thing flips over. And then and these are his arms, so they're gonna have all these fleshy details. That's kind of the idea. I'm sure it's kind of hard to see all together on camera. Sorry about that, but yeah. So the question is, where do I pick up? Based on where I left off? How about we start with some really small nails? Which will hopefully act as pins. I was using sewing needles as pins for like really small pins, but they were too finicky. Even the sewing needles will like break, even though they're pretty hard metal. So this pink one here is it's supposed to be 1 millimeter, right? So I think that's not enough. Let's try 1.5. This is the joint that attaches his chest to this guy. Right? And so the idea is, if I could get these guys to work, right? If I could get them to work, I could either do a mold of all the individual pieces. If I could scan them, maybe if I could get a good scan, but that's a whole nother step in itself. Maybe a 3D print, but then again, my 3D printer is never really as precise as I like it to be. Look at that. As soon as I put it in, it freaking snapped it. I could put some glue on that. That'll be fine. But it's annoying. It's annoying that it does that. Yeah, these are the smallest pins, really smallest, like, they're cheap, but the smallest nails I could find. And that just freaking exploded. Jesus Christ. Give me a moment. Give me a moment, guys. Alright, we're just gonna drop a little bit of glue in these. Once again, I could avoid having to drill all these pieces if I just use like super thin like sewing needle pins. I might have to. But then that makes it an issue if I want to do a mold of it. Like how do I make a nice mold that captures that small of a freaking hole? Maybe I should just avoid trying to fix the holes in this and just focus on the sculpting. That's why we're here. We're here to sculpt. But it makes it easier to sculpt when everything's like, I could see where everything connects and meets and assembles correctly. You know what? Let's start with these. These little gaps I made, it's like a little divot inside this flat plate. That is, hold on, what's that? That's where I could put clay into. So I know these are gonna go here, right? And that's meant to be his arms. These are like big, meaty arms. So just gonna put some clay inside. Let's put some clay inside these guys. Trying to remember, it's been a while. Why did I switch to these black ones? Did I these? I can't remember if these were the prototypes or the brown ones were the prototypes. I'm assembling them to see. I think I did these second. Yeah, these have big ass holes in them. I think I realized these brown ones worked out well, but I was having issues with the holes. They kept breaking. So should we just sculpt? Oh no, there are some differences. There are definitely differences. Yeah. Let's sculpt on the brown ones. Yeah. The black ones work, but I also, obviously, I changed some things when I made these. So we're gonna sculpt on the brown ones. Alright. So we are using epoxy sculpt. Smooth on freeform sculpt. It's a really good epoxy sculpt, also very sticky. So that's why I have some water with me, because that's how you work around it. Simple 1-to-1, just mix it up, make sure it turns a nice even gray color. I'll be honest, I'm not too sure. I have an idea. I know how the concept drawing came out, but now we're dealing with really like angular square shapes. I gotta find a way to sculpt this for those square shapes to actually have more organic curves to them. So I'm debating if I should like hint at an elbow. If his shoulder's up here, I'm gonna be sculpting a lot on the chest as well. That's another thing. Because I'm shrinking these down away from the what is like a 6 to 7 inch figurine wrestling figurines, which were the original like prototypes for these. I was customizing those figurines, but because I'm making them all at a smaller 5 inch standard, I have to like really think of simplifying the transformation, fitting everything in, small detail stuff. So this guy has giant claws that come out and a kind of bird-looking beak though for his face. So should the claws be kind of crab-like? Should I give it like ridges like a lobster tail? Yeah, something like that. I mean, it's smooth right now, but like curving it. Let me do the other side. This stuff doesn't dry super quick, but quick enough. Yeah, I know a lot of people use the green stuff for like really small. It's literally called the green stuff for really small like D&D figurines and everything. But I love this if you're customizing like larger figurines because it's so sticky. It will stick to like your Spider-Man figurine or whatever, your Captain America figurine, whatever figurine you're using as a base. This works very well. Ooh, I don't know if you hear that. It's like an airplane coming in low near me. I'm not too far from. Is it JFK? I forget which airport or LaGuardia. I forget. Whatever airport I'm not too far from, it is. Super loud when it goes by. So I picked these up. Oh crud. Rex, what is that store again? Right near I think Bryant Park. It's mainly anime, but it has also American comics as well. It's a really good place for like just tons and tons of manga of every genre, rows and rows of it. A few like American, Western comics. Downstairs they have magazines that you find like strictly from Japan as well. But they have a little gunpla area, a little model kit area. And the moment I saw these like fine detailed drills, I was like, yes, because you could get these sizes in a hand drill, but trying to hold that hand drill for small projects, good luck with that. Yeah, I'm thinking. Yeah, I'm not gonna try and drill out these holes. They're actually just big enough for like they're good for Once again, they're really good for like I could buy a pack of sewing needles. So if I get some good sewing needles, that'll be thin enough, but hopefully strong enough to act as the hinges, as the pins for the hinges. That is. I gotta make this flat because a lot has to fit inside. Just once again, just to clarify, it's a figurine carrying a box, and it's holding it like this, and the box opens up, and there's a face in the box that will cover his face. So I gotta make room. I mean, worst comes to worst, I file this stuff down. I use my Dremel and I file it down. I really gotta learn to stop winging it when it comes to sculpture. I'm just like, oh, I'm just gonna, freely. I'm just gonna, freehand this sculpture. I'm sure it'll work out along the way. I really gotta learn to plan my stuff better. And yes, I am trying to get a better camera as well. I'm using my phone. I have cameras, but whenever I hook them up to this extension cord I have, that's a USB extension cord, it doesn't register right. I have good cameras. Ooh. Once again, very sticky. If the sculpture's too wet and your hands are too dry, it just won't come off your hand. I have a nice big tool set of sculpture tools. My sister got me this big tool set. I think I got some. I still got a bunch of old dentistry dentistry tools as well. From Clitoris Rex. I think Clitoris Rex gave me a bunch of those. Thanks again, man. I still use these for stuff. And I got a bunch of random files. So I have different things to use, which is good. Just some random texture stuff. Okay, so those are that. That's that. Now I put a hole. See this 2 pieces with a ring? I did put a hole in there, and I have a peg. The idea was I put the peg in. The idea was I put the peg in here. I put the peg in and I put the peg through here. And that will allow for like a little bit of a rotation. For like extra articulation so the hands could move around. But part of me is thinking of just getting rid of that. Just getting rid of that articulation altogether. I don't know. It's just like one extra thing I gotta worry about in the long run. Hey, you gotta try it. You gotta try it. You gotta see if it works. Do I have... You know what? Let's eyeball. Let's eyeball the space needed for this. Oh, it's to this. I screwed up something in the design. These antennae go all the way down to the ring, but this is sunk in. So even if I try to add it, it'll only go a little bit back and forth. What a... That's so stupid of me. I sunk this. This plate is sunk in for the clay, so it only goes like a little bit. So at that point, I might as well just keep it as a solid sculpture. Whoa! You can hear the helicopters. What the heck's going on out there tonight? So you know what? We're just going to sculpt and leave a hole there for the insertion of that. But that's gonna be the claw, by the way. This is kind of the wrist. It's like the whole plate is the wrist, and the claw is gonna come out of it. Right, to be honest, I'm kind of letting the tools decide the textures, and like, I'm doing lines this way, so let's just keep that. Let's keep those lines then. I'm not too sure what the texture is for this guy. wet the whole thing. I'll get to stick it right in there as an indent. Yeah. So that's that. There we go. And we're going to sculpt around this separately. I forgot. How long am I making these guys? Okay, so I could put the claws on this and extend them pretty far. So let's just wrap some. I'm gonna line them up like this so you can see how it all connects. Sometimes you gotta blow the water off of it because it's just too much water. Like you're putting water on your fingers so it doesn't stick to you, but then it gets all too slippery. Just gotta blow it off and then it quickly retains and it'll quickly go back to being just sticky enough. That helps. Just a reminder to anyone out there, the music I'm using is from YouTube's free audio library. YouTube has a full library of music and sound effects for people who want to use it for streaming or video editing. And so far, I have not been flagged by YouTube or Twitch, which is what I've been looking for. So I just found a bunch. Found a bunch of songs. I downloaded them, and I stuck them onto a playlist loop, and that's what I've been using lately. I want to give him, you know, kind of the crab claw thing, where it's like the top is actually larger than the bottom. I still have to worry about how much space I have in the whole body itself. Maybe I should just, you know what? I kind of want the claws to be open, but if I'm doing a crab claw thing, I might as well just cover the whole thing and then sculpt it and then make divots on the inside. Just utilize the whole space. Yeah. There we go. knows, maybe if I do the mold right, I could have this as one big piece in a mold. A little tricky. Might have to do a sandwich mold of some type. Give me a second, guys. I'm going to lower my blinds. It's getting a little bit dark. Yes, I worry about... where's the mirror? It's not this one. This one. So you see how long this tube is? This length right here? So that if I keep the small hole, the real pain is not showing if the silicone will slide through if I'm making a mold of it. However, I'm hoping if I sculpt around and bulk these up, if I bulk this material up using clay, maybe I could then return to it and actually do light drilling to make the holes a bit bigger. Like I said, I tried it with this, and those larger holes worked well. So it's kind of like a 50-50 at the moment. Come on, mix, mix, mix. It does feel good to get to these projects. I have issues. I have trouble, really getting to the end of the project. Because sometimes you need to get the project idea out of your head. It's like you have the idea running in your head over and over again. And then you make a blueprint. And you're like, oh, good, it's out of my head. But then you're like, okay, now I have the blueprint. I need to continue finishing the project. But the one thing I've forced I wear my fingers. The one thing I've forced myself to always remember, and you have to do this, is that you gotta trust the process. It's gonna look ugly at some point. It's gonna always look ugly at some point. You're always gonna lose your faith in the project at some point, but you have to push through it. I tend to overthink stuff. Oh, this looks nice, but how is it going to work at the end? This looks nice, but how is it going to make as a mold? And I know, especially our buddy in the chat, Katorius Rex, people talk about like, oh, you could 3D scan it. You could 3D scan it. And I'm like, that's a whole nother process. I'm not even ready yet. Like, I have to learn to 3D scan. Then I have to learn to correct it in the 3D programming. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know how to do that. And even if I learn how to do that, I still have to like get a 3D printer that'll print it properly. I'm like, but what I do know is how to do silicone molds. So I have to like, at the moment, for now, work with what I do know. Okay, it's very wet. We're gonna let it dry. Let that water flow off of it. So I printed these flat, which means it's layered like this. So if I try to put a drill through it, it breaks open. It's like a sandwich. You put a knife through a sandwich, it all falls apart. If I had printed these upward, I could have drilled through it easily, but then there's a risk of it snapping that way. So like it's do if you know, it's damn if you do, damn if you don't. Let me see, what's a good equivalent? That's actually a good equivalent, so we're just gonna use this for now. Do I have the other one? I do, but it's broken. That's fine. It will work as well. There's also an imperfection in the print. Come here. And I'm hoping if I could just do the one, I could use that rather than have to sculpt two claws. I don't want to have to sculpt two claws if I don't have to. I actually like this song. I don't know. Every time it comes up, I like it. I think I have maybe 20 songs that I have on loop right now. There we go. To match the forearms, we'll do some random little spots of little holes in it. There we go. Okay. You kind of see what I'm talking about. Forearm, wrist, and then the claw will be the actual hand, of course. And these flaps. So this is what we're looking at here. Right? This guy, I haven't sculpted this one yet. But you can see if the claw goes there, that's this piece, this is this piece, and this is going to be on top. So it goes from the side of a box, there's a hole right here, then when you open it, interlocks. That's going to be all of that. So we're going to add clay inside this way. And it'll match the grooves, the curving grooves we did here. And who knows? Maybe I'm not gonna go back to the original 3D print, but maybe I'll take these, do some sanding to make room around these pieces. That way I could drill. That way I could add this material, thicken them up, and give me room. And that way it has. I don't know. I'm just trying to find a way to drill through them and not have them crack on me. I want to be, the whole point of this whole project isn't just to make a toy. It is to find a way to reproduce it. Okay. Equal amounts. I try to do equal amounts when I do this. You know, I know he's gonna come out a little chunky looking. I know he's gonna come out a little squared off, but still gotta trust the process. The real trick is taking ideas I have with other figurines and reproducing them, as I said, in this smaller scale. That's like the real issue. Okay, so let's match it up with that. I'm gonna definitely have to do a little bit of sanding later, but that's fine. Let's put some icky dots, little holes in it. So rather than scales, he has that creepy like holes in the body kind of thing, which I know is a one of my coworkers has that fear of like holes. There's a word for it. I forget what it's called. Is it tryptophobia? You know, of course, everyone who has tryptophobia has the exact same source of where it comes from, and it's that one freaking frog. It's like this type of frog that like carries its young on its back. I told my coworker, never watch Gremlins. They go, what? I go, have you ever seen Gremlins? They go, no. I go, never watch Gremlins. Because there's a whole scene that's very like, that, you know, you could tell they were inspired by that kind of frog. Don't get stuck to my finger. Come on. Like the moment there's no moisture, it wants to get stuck to you. So these are double hinges. Double hinges go there and there. I'm not gonna sculpt anything there because it's very tight. I would like paint this most likely. I would paint this in the tones of what this is. Now I gotta figure out the face. I gotta figure out the face. That's like the main thing right now. One of my fears is this little piece. Once again, it was printed sideways, so it's not gonna snap in half. All the layers are sideways, but it's so small. This would be, if this was a toy, this would probably be like a die-cast piece of plastic, given the size. Just look how tiny that is. It's meant to be like a double hinge as well. But look how small it is. It's like a dog bone. There's a place near me. It was the only place anywhere near me that does like art, that you could buy like arts and crafts. It was mainly a fabric store, but they had like a whole arts and crafts section, and it's finally going out of business. I'm like, damn. The one place I need to go to buy a bunch of like sewing needles, and it's freaking going out of business. Okay. So let's bulk this up. Because it's gonna be like it's like a bird. It has like a sharp like parrot beak, if you would. Once again, I can sculpt all I want, but what it really comes down to is how well this all fits together. Mechanically it will, but once I start adding these textures, you know, these organic shapes, just think about how like 80s and early 90s, every Transformer, every transforming toy, the Animorphs toys, like, you know, they were all sculpted by hand. They were all figured out by hand. I actually found out something very interesting. I was talking to talking to the guys who like, one of the guys who worked on like Beast Wars, like Transformers Beast Wars, the originals, and he was saying how, I was like, you know, how do you design your toy? How much of it is like drawing? How much of it is mechanic? And he said, well, one of the ways they went about it is that a bunch of engineers came up with skeletons, and they would like, okay, here's a humanoid character that's now a biped. Here's a humanoid character that might be a bird, but rather it was just like humanoid to another shape. And then they would hand those designs, those basic skeletons, and then the sculptors worked around them. They were like, okay, there's a humanoid to a biped. Let's make it a bull, or let's make it a tiger. So like, that's one of the ways they went about it. One guy just did like the basic idea of this shape becomes this shape, and then they're handed to an artist to figure out the rest. And then that comes up. Yeah, okay. In a way, you could argue they were kind of winging it half the time when they went up with like transforming designs, especially for Beast Wars, because the first time they were doing like, not the first time they did animals, but the first time they were doing like animals that are meant to be more organic looking. So this face, which basically hides in the chest right here, flips out and covers the guy's face. So I'm bulking up this right here. That way when it goes up, it will eventually cover his actual face. That's the idea. Right now I'm just adding layers to bulk it, and as that dries, I'll then add the more finer details. I have like teeth here, but they're so small. Once again, maybe I should just make this one whole piece and just draw the details of teeth. Not an open mouth, but just like the details of the teeth. Just like sculpt them on the side. Maybe give him a little. There's the bottom half. So maybe on the chin, give him a little bit of hair, little bit of creepy like monster hair off the chin. I gotta give credit to people who like. I love small toys, little vinyl figurines. Used to get in cereal boxes, things like that. I was always enamored by the detail of those. The Mighty Max stuff, I was always like, how'd you get those, little figurine details? I used to love them so much. Yeah, Mighty Max. Like, if you look at the original Mighty Max and Polly Pockets, they had amazing detail work. And I saw this person online, a grown man, a grown man who works in the toy industry, and he's talking about like, okay, so they're bringing back Polly Pocket. Let's like do a comparison of like the detail of the sculpting, and now we have digital sculpting. And he was like, this is really depressing. Like, you're supposed to make a toy that like that encourages imagination, and like it's the most boring thing you've ever seen. Okay, so you got a snoot. Okay. So we're on the right track here. Let me mix a little bit more clay, work on the claw. I don't know if I need to. It's such a... Because the thing is, if the claw sits here, and the face sits right about there, oh, that's upside down. Come on, what's going on here? What's going? Like, don't stick to each other. What's going on here? Sorry, I'm just trying to get this thing to cooperate. There we go. See, it's side by side like that. Like that. So I could probably bulk up the claw just a little bit. Or maybe just, you know what? No, I'll save that space for the face. I'm just gonna see if I could do some sculpted detail on the claw we have right now. Who was that? Hey, Red. I'm just returning to an old project I haven't, like, really worked on in a while. Let's mix up a little clay. My workstation is a mess. I could work on it, but it's a mess. But then again, what else is new? I get into the habit of rolling little balls like this, of various sizes, that way I can mix at different, ratios. I don't have to mix up too much or too little. The real issue is that this part, it looks more white on camera, but there's a really beige part of the 2-part mix. Like it much more malleable, but what that means is that it actually settles at the bottom of the it settles into the bottom of the bowl, which means I gotta like really scrape it. I have my trusty used art spoon. Okay, stick with those. That's a good piece right there. Okay. Kind of match the amount. Match the amount per 1/2. That seems right. Okay. Oh, Red, now that you're here, I was just telling the audience, or whatever audience may come by, where I picked up these nice model kit friendly hand drills. But I forgot the name of the store. What is the name of the store again? By I think it's by was it Bryant Park? You know, the mainly Japanese manga store. I always forget the name of it. Thank you very much. Kino Kuni. Oh, while I have you gentlemen here, so as I mentioned earlier in the stream, the Nintendo Game Boy like fake lollipops, they're very popular. They sell well. Do you think I should make more of Businessman Goomba? I mean, the main issue with him is painting him. He's a pain in the butt to paint. But do you think he's a fun little concept? I maybe should have like a handful of these. Okay, that's a good mix right there. Yeah, this year Brooklyn Comic Con, I think it's gonna be outside. They're gonna provide tents and tables. It's an outside event, so I'm once again debating on how to reset up my table. Because if you have screens up and the wind hits that screen, it's an issue. Yeah, I love the way he looks, and the mold. I have the mold right next to me. It's on the side. The mold is really good. He comes out good. It's just I'm having an issue like with the painting. If you use acrylic, he comes out too messy. Okay, let's see what we could do with this. Yeah, it's this Saturday coming up. I should get 2 tickets for my table. If either of you are going, or both of you are going, let me know because I can at least pass a ticket to one of you guys. Once again, I wet my fingers and then I actually blow on the model to get as much water off the model. That way it will stick to the model. There we go. Trying to put little grooves in it. That way it looks like teeth marks. Like he has teeth, little like teeth indents in the actual model. It's a little lopsided. I don't know how well you can see that, but it has like two little grooves going in. It's kind of like a shark face. I'm thinking, like, since this is meant to be a shell, give it some cracks. So as I'm doing these lines, I saw a really interesting post the other day. This might sound kind of random, but stick with me. And it was talking about Harry Potter, and it says, now I'm not sure if this picture was official or if it was a fan-made picture based on a written description, but it mentions how like Harry Potter's scar is described as a lightning bolt. Now on the covers of the books, it's like a kid drew it, like a little, like an actual like kid drawing of a lightning bolt, and that gets translated into the live-action movies. It's this literal like zigzag lightning bolt. But someone did a really beautiful drawing. You know how lightning actually looks like? How it looks like almost like veins striking across the sky. Someone did a drawing of Harry Potter where his scar is that. He has like literal like scarations from his forehead going down near his eye in that almost hand-like pattern that lightning really looks like. And they were like, that is how a lightning bolt looking scar, quote unquote, should look like. And it looks so freaking badass. Okay, so we're gonna have some fun over here. I'm going to sculpt up his hair. The idea is, if I give him like crazy hair, think of the old Casey Jones toy with his hair. If I give him wider hair, when the monster mask fits on, the hair kind of wraps around it. I want to say this was a figurine of Batman from Batman Forever. Oh, which one was that again? Was that Keaton? No. Damn, I get my Batmans mixed up. Yeah, I think this was a Batman Forever. Yeah, I think it was a Batman Forever figurine. And if not Batman Forever, obviously like Batman and Robin. There was a bunch of Batman and Robin toys for sure. I'm sorry, that Uma Thurman toy looks, to this day, I'm like, what did you do to that poor woman? Like, I'm not saying she's the most beautiful woman in the world, but that toy did no favors for her. Whoever sculpted that toy. He's looking like an Elvis. I mean, I could give him... Yeah, I could give him heavy sideburns. I mean, these are meant to be fun. Like, this, you know, these are silly characters these are monster characters pretending to be human. So, you know, giving one like crazy sideburns kind of works. It's so annoying because this clay makes your fingers sticky. And the clay loves to like easily peel off. If the plastic is wet and your hands are sticky, it will come off like instantly. Okay, you know what? Let's we'll put sideburns on him in a minute. Let's actually get the sculpture of the hair kind of bulked up. I'm sure there's tons of tutorials of how to do good. Whoa! How to do good sculpted hair. I mean, a larger figurine, you could do wavy lines. You know, it's you're not trying to do every strand. You're just trying to get the idea of strands of hair. There's tons of tutorials out there, and I need to like really like try different techniques. It's been a while. I was getting good sculpting hair a while back, like when I was doing these on when I first started doing these particular figurines. Like even now, I did a bunch of really thin lines with this almost like knife one, and I'm kind of making them, blending them in with a thicker like rubber tip. So you know you go kind of back and forth. Just bigger hair. If I could get the sides to dry up, I could give them little sideburns. So I wet this, keep the clay dry, and just press it right there and hope it sticks. Yeah, that's better. That's too much. Ah, what a pain. Just need a little dot. That way I could like give him like little funny sideburns. At the very least, it'll stick and I can always bulk it up later. There we go. Why did I do this to myself? Why did I make these guys? Why did I decide to go with a 5-inch figurine? Alright, that does look good though. It does look good. I don't know, how well can you guys see that on camera? A little focus is a bit weird on this. Let me see. He's slowly looking like freaking Rich Biff from Back to the Future. He's kind of looking like that. Like, it's, you know, in hindsight, it's super obvious now that, like, Back to the Future Biff is meant to be a mix between Trump and Elvis. Like, you know, he has, like, he looks like Trump if Trump had, like, a little bit of Elvis hair. There we go. There we go. Just thinking, you're supposed to be in Switzerland, you little twerp. Did he call him a twerp? I forget. Okay. That's the first half. I also noticed this guy has no chin. I should put some clay in that chin. That's looking good though. Oh. Come on, stop sticking to me and just stick to the tool, you... Nah, you jerk. There. Just trying to round out the chin. And smooth. I want to round it out. First of all, he needs a chin. I gotta bulk it up. Yeah, This was I made a really cheap mold of this character, just enough to make, just enough to like duplicate the figurine in that, in an uneven way. I don't need it to be perfect. I just needed a base. This, by the way, is pretty much what they did for the original Star Wars toys. Like the very original toys, they went out, bought like another brand, and then just sculpted over them as like the prototypes. Just like guerrilla toy making. Looks like he's developing a weird stone chin. I just know if I push on it too much, it's gonna freaking just fall off because it's like it's too watery now. Yeah, we'll leave that for now. I don't want to mess with him too much. Okay. Now the real issue about all of this. Let me grab this for example. So that's gonna go there, right? That's the hinge for that. And I'm going to have to sculpt shoulders and arms on this. That doesn't get in the way of the hinge, but also kind of hides it. So that's going to be a real pain to figure out. So until these dry and I can put them in place and sculpt the outside, let's get this guy some pants. The idea is that he's hiding as a delivery guy. So let's give him some like let's give him some FedEx pants, the brown FedEx pants. And then I'm gonna sculpt like cartoonishly big sneakers on him. That way he doesn't fall over. It's like no articulation. I'm making these small with the idea of no articulation. I mean, these toys had articulation. These little, I'm not gonna deal with that. It's like it's just gonna be little toys that transform. There's like with limited articulation, if any. Dude, don't ask. Oh no. All right. Yeah, now I'll do some filing to clean up the knees and everything. But let's give him some pants because essentially because he was a Batman toy, he's really just like, simple human. Yeah, they just sculpted a human, then they gave, then they put in some, then they went ahead and put in some line detail to indicate that, he was wearing like long johns. So if anyone saw some of my older videos, I do have another toy design I'm working on. It is an astronaut. It is a big chunky astronaut toy that also doubles as it makes its own accessories. It's like a Play-Doh toy. It's an astronaut that has molds that you can squeeze Play-Doh into and make a bunch of aliens out of it. And I have not given up on that project, but I am gonna kind of go back to scratch on the alien designs. I know I can make them. I know they're gonna work, but I want to simplify how the aliens look to make it easier for the Play-Doh to actually work with the toy. So that's all of that is going to be 3D sculpted to the best of my ability. So I figured I'll work on some physical sculpting in the meantime. I had a clamp. Give me a second. No. I need a rubber clamp. Ah, there it is. That way I could just stand them up at least. Well, when I need to. Let go. Look at them butt cheeks. So Katorius Rex and I, we were at Forbidden Planet in New York City, and they were reissuing. They were making not remakes. Like it was like they were using the original mold of like some Todd McFarlane figurines from the '90s. But though there was a time where the figurines, especially Todd McFarlane, it was more about the design than the actual toy. Because they had crazy crazy accessories and designs. But there was like you would have a toy that was obviously just a sculpture, and then they would just cut into the arms and legs to give it articulation. But the articulation didn't make any sense. It wasn't like elbow joints and shoulder joints. It was just like cut into the hip. That way the leg could kind of turn. But like that was like it was that weird point in this toy making where like all the toys did that. But they were all mostly like Todd McFarlane figurines because it was more about the actual sculpture of the toy and not like the play of it, you know? And yeah, I was looking at one of the figurines and it was just this really crazy the sculpture of like a woman with like a headdress and chains and stuff. And like she had like one cut in the shoulder here and like an awkward cut here and an awkward cut there. It was just like, at that point, just make a statue. Just trying to fill in the seams of, you know, the articulation that this toy did have. Mm-mm. freaking chin. Ah, dang it. I keep putting my tools on the freaking sculptures. Stupid. You know what? No, let me use this flat piece. Okay, good enough for now. Let's mix a little bit more of what we have. Just get these pants done, at least. So a lot of this is good for what it is right now. I can assemble it. I'm just gonna have to use like needle. For now, I'm gonna use like little needle pins and assemble it. See how it all comes together. Cause if it fits together, that's it. I just gotta clean up the edges. And then like I said, we'll start sculpting his shoulders and everything else. Go. You know what? Let's just mix it all up. I'm gonna need more. And I'll need some water. I think in the future, when I start doing more and more figurines like this, because I usually set the print to make a 1 centimeter hole. 1 millimeter hole for these joints, but it's a 3D printer, so it doesn't always get it right because the plastic settles on itself. So if I set it to maybe 1.5 millimeters, it'll print closer to the 1 millimeter, and I'll be able to fit these smaller needles into it. I think it's just the way the plastic heats and settles. The holes come out way smaller than they should be. So I'm just mixing as I talk. Let me clean my hands, because my hands are all super sticky, and that's just gonna get in the way. I'm literally just wetting my hands, like saturating them, and then doing a hard wipe to get this clay off. There we go. See my idea? I'm gonna put a thin flat piece and then a big donut around the bottom to like really define the bottom of the pants, or the shorts actually. Okay. I don't know if anyone out there remembers Mad TV, the attempted alternative to based on Mad Comics, but the attempted alternative to SNL, and one of the characters was this like super hyped up, I'm guessing coffee driven UPS guy, and it was done by uh, the voice actor for Samurai Jack. He freaking was it Phil Lamar? He was that character. And that was pretty much the whole gag. The whole gag was that he was just like way too excited to like do his job. Like, yeah, okay, deliver, let's go, get this box out of here. Like he's just always moving and couldn't stop moving. It was kind of like he was trying to channel like early Jim Carrey energy. Was like the character was that. The character was like obviously like a Jim Carrey kind of energy. Yeah. And of course, part of the humor was also like the fact he was wearing, like, I think if I remember correctly, he was wearing like really short shorts. Like his uniform was like the pants were always tight on him or something. Nah, these seams don't want to give. Come on. Like where I lay the clay down, they don't always like want to blend into each other well. Whenever I see people doing like super detailed small sculptures, I'm like, how do you do it? How do you get so many small details in the little guys, you know? Tell me your secrets. Which devil did you sell your soul to get the chainmail on this character just right? Banana. Trying to do little pockets on him. Just a hint of like where a pocket would be. And then have the belt. And it's gonna do like what is supposed to be belt straps. That's one of the things, like I'm never sure if I should just sculpt into what's there or add something on top to hint to what I'm looking for. That's part of it though. Just gotta, if you don't know what you're doing, push forward. Obviously look up tutorials at some point if you really need to. But just push and test and see what works and what doesn't work. Ah, my fingers are too sticky. Everything's sticking to them. Lovely. Come on. Whoops. Bump my nail into it. Okay, you know what? I gotta take a minute. Give me up. I gotta do a little cleanup. I literally gotta scrape the clay off my fingers. This epoxy is just sticking to everything, including my fingers. Okay. I have a bit left. I still want to let these dry before I add another layer. That's the issue with this. You need to actually let it dry because it's so sticky. It's hard to there's that balance of, let me add more water so it sticks less. Oh, but I added too much water. Now I can't sculpt the details. What I could do, he has a very muscular back. So how about we just fill in these gaps and just start developing a t-shirt on him. There, got a nice grip on it, on the sides and by the foot. Because once again, this was just sculpted as a muscular man in a freaking leotard to be Batman, so doesn't really work for what we're looking at here, what we want. There you go, that's better. Remove the fine line between the shirt and the pants. Might need to add more on the back. It has a flat butt now. So I might add some more clay to the butt line. Because he had a tush, but it was a tight tush. So once I added the clay, it disappeared. Gotta cover that Made in China. Right here, it's like you can see the Made in China sign. Do some little striations, like the wrinkles from a shirt that's tucked in. There we go. That's a bit better. So we got some pants going. We got some hair going. All of which is up for adjustments later on. I do like that head so far. Like give him the little like poof of hair on top, just bulking out the hair more. I think that worked very well. That's way too much clay on that. Okay, we can always sand the rest off. That's good. I'm just checking, like, essentially the walls here. These edges need to be clean because I 3D designed them to clip really tight. So I need to make sure everything is still pretty tight. I think we're good. How's his big face look so far? Let's add a little doop. Add, you know, waste not, want not. So that, you know, I'm gonna have to figure out how I want to do this face. Have a giant open mouth, or do the Ninja Turtle route where I fill it in and then do teeth, make it a solid piece. Because once again, part of my decision is if I'm gonna do a silicone mold of these, I need to simplify the mold and not have as much negative space. The only negative space issues are the actual holes. Yeah, these guys, the holes were bigger. Look how thick this bolt is compared to those. So I did the holes really big on these guys. But they were just a prototype. So I'm kind of 50-50 in it. Let it dry. Maybe I'll go at it with the 1mm really carefully. Just see if I could widen the holes with the 1mm, and then bring it up to 5mm. And if it cracks, it cracks. Add a little crazy glue to it, like with this guy. This guy needs crazy glue, to be honest. Yeah, this guy's trying to escape. He's like literally splitting right down the middle. Yeah. Let's see if I could really carefully put some crazy glue on it. There, right there. Yeah. This one, like as soon as I try to put a bolt in, the whole thing split open. It's I just printed it in the wrong orientation. This is like when I first got my 3D printer, so I wasn't really like paying attention to how these things worked. Because I don't want to have to reprint this, especially now my 3D printer is at a point where it's just nothing wants to stick to the bed. So it'll print something nice as long as I get it to stick, but the first very thin layer, the bottom of it, always looks like garbage. So if I'm printing something that in which I don't care about the underside, that's fine. But if I need something that's double-sided like this, it's just not cooperating anymore. Okay, we're gonna let that dry. So let's see. Let's do a little test. This is 1 millimeter in these holes, which should be 1 millimeter. Will it let me drill without cracking? Nope, I can kind of see it already. Am I imagining that? Is that a crack? I can't even tell. Man, I can't even tell with these. This worked out well. Look at that. Slides right through, just fine. Yeah, it was just the orientation. The orientation of how I printed that is just biting me in the butt. Or at least I know this little thing works. And the rest of them should work. They should, but you never know. How about his shoulder parts? These little shoulder pieces should be. Yep, that works well. Yeah, if I could get all of them to just let me freaking get that 1 millimeter in. If I have to, I could then drill the 1 millimeter and then slowly work it up to the 1.5, which I'm gonna have to do with everything. I'm gonna have to like really carefully do the 1 millimeter, then 1.5, 1 millimeter, 1.5 for each one of these damn things. Okay, so where do we stand? The main sculpting looks pretty good so far. Right? What we're dealing with now is whether or not I've added too much of a thickness to these walls. I'm gonna see if it all comes together. If it comes together, like we could then refine it, add more details, and then assemble him. Once he's assembled, I could then work on the outside more, make his shoulders, sculpt hands that are holding the box, and then just go from there. And then the idea is making resin copies. Not 3D prints, but like just straight up, can we do a resin copy of these? Like, will we get a silicone mold that works, given how small these freaking pieces are? Nope, see, this one's splitting. Yeah, these are just splitting, man. I wonder if I could cheat and just take the black ones off of this. Yeah, I might. You know what? Let's see. It is the exact same size. I just made the holes big on this. Made the holes big on this. I'm surprised they even came out good the way they did. So maybe I say screw it. Why fiddle with these little guys if they're the same size? I think they're the same size. If I could just put that there, replace them. I'm gonna paint most of this anyway, so it doesn't need a brown base. Yeah. Why not? Still gotta worry about the other holes on all of these. Yeah, we'll see how that works. Yeah, we'll see how it works. Okay, let me get this guy in shot. See if it's focused. It's about 10 o'clock. Or 10:10 actually. I think I'm going to call it a night. I got to wake up early tomorrow for work. Yeah, I got, once again, this weekend, Brooklyn Comic Con. It's going to be Saturday. Check it out. Often really good. Hopefully the weather will hold out nicely. Focus, 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 focus. Thank you, Rex, and thank you, Red, for dropping in. It's always nice to see you guys. And as a reminder to everyone else, these videos are held up on... Damn it. These videos are held up on Twitch for about a week. They're permanently held up on my YouTube page, The Burgos Art. Check out the links. Instagram is usually works in progress. DeviantArt has not been updated in a while, to be true. But I'm always checking out artists on DeviantArt as well. Yes, I'm on X, but I'm also on Blue Sky. So follow me on Blue Sky if you want to avoid the poison that X has become. All of which on The Burgos Art. And, yeah. I want to say that is it. And, yeah. So once again, guys, I am Dante. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the future. Later.